Yeah.
Can't take the call this meeting to order.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Here.
Mrs. Butler.
Here.
Mrs. Donahue.
Here.
Mr. B. Mrs. Kiplinger.
Here.
Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda. I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Can we separate the 5A, please?
Remove 5A out of the consent agendas?
Just separate the, there's two people on that, two employee, can we just separate those?
And it's separated, like we mean separate.
Vote on them separately.
Okay, so
Well, she wants to vote on Jamie separately, not Zeta separately, correct?
basically we have to pull it out of the consent agenda, right? Because if you leave it in the consent agenda, then we
Yeah.
approve the consent agenda.
Yeah,
then
you're just
something
gonna
in it,
basically vote on,
We just have to pull it out
I
and make
think
it
we
a
approve it.
separate item, right?
That needs to be a separate one.
Just pull it out. and
So
vote each one
who do we
separately.
want to separate?
separating Jamie Campbell as a.
Right. So do you want to pull them both off of the consent agenda, or is there one in particular you want to vote on separately?
If, there's only two, yeah, both separate, both separate.
Both separately, so
Yeah.
pull them both off of them.
Okay, so it becomes A for one and A for two.
It's on item. Anything else?
5A. 1B.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Will you please vote, please? So to approve the agenda minus 5. And make that its own item.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
So here.
Then public participation, do we have?
We have one.
Okay. Ms. Donna Hughes.
Very much, wasn't paying attention, I thought I heard Donahue. My name is Donna Hughes, 9360 South Van Road. Thank you for this opportunity to let me speak. I want to thank you for this beautiful thing inside the hive. I really appreciate that. I love the graphics on the calendar page. I like having the Thanksgiving holiday on it or Thanksgiving break. I have a challenge with the winter break. The winter break is not a holiday. The federal holiday is Christmas, and we don't celebrate the winter solstice. So I would like for that to change that. It's sometime to be Christmas holiday, because those who are non-Christians can still enjoy the time off. And I believe, correct me if I'm correct, but I think if a student has a religious holiday of their religion, they're excused. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right, so therefore, those who are not Christians get benefit both. So that is my challenges. I really hate the phrase winter break. I had a problem with the why in Huber Heights, and I asked her what the winter break was. She said that would be before and after Christmas. I said, would that be the Christmas break? And you're a Christian organization? But you do not have to fear the atheist organization out of Minnesota. Because the First Amendment does give you the right to name those things. Congress cannot make a religion. So if you have a coach training or whatever, that is not against the Constitution, federal and state. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no other.
That was the only one I had.
Then we're rolling to the superintendent's report.
Okay. Good evening, superintendent's report, just like I said, a few updates. One, it'll be a busy time of the year for us. We're trying to staff everybody, move people around, get places filled. We had a good transportation meeting this morning, went really well. Tina and I were both there. I went in the morning, and Tina went at the end, went to DSC meeting to hear for one of our special ed meetings, but I think it was, all the drivers, and I just, to give you guys an FYI, they liked what we said. They appreciate us coming down. We spent 45 minutes with them, answering questions. It's a good conversation. We were only down. We were down 3 drivers. We're hopefully be down 1 by tomorrow.
Oh,
So
stellar.
we can get fully staffed on that. Hopefully we can get rid of double runs. So that's the goal, right? I've got 2 more people that I sent his way, and he's searching for a couple more. So I think that'll be good. And as far as transportation goes, you'll see it in the next agenda, but start to think, we've got buses sitting out there in the weeds and the grass, and we're going to sell those. I think we probably get 30,000. They don't run, but somebody will buy the insurance. So we're gonna start to do some things. We've had some good dialogue. We had some good meetings. I think transportation will look a lot different this year. And we talked with the Ohio Highway Patrol about getting cruisers out here in the mornings and in the afternoon.
Not before 6:30 though.
We told that your car, you're good to go.
You have my number.
I told him, call me. No,
No.
we just got, I talked to, Miami County Sheriff's Office. I've talked to our SRO. We're still trying to find a second SRO, but it's just the traffic pattern here lacks to be desired from what I've heard. I haven't seen it, right? I wasn't here, but from what I've heard, it's sort of a nightmare. And so we want to address it now. So we're working on that as well. So you'll see on the work session, is going to be a pretty large one as well. So talk about. But for today's purposes, I wanted to go over some PD and Rachel has about professional development schedule and get a little bit about that. I want to explain what happened to PSYOP training. And then I just want to basically do the things we had to do to get people hired in a couple of positions, and then handbooks and class fees, because those have to get ready.
Yeah.
So we're moving those forward. We'll take care of the rest of the stuff on the 13th and the 20th, but that's what I want to talk about today. So on the professional development schedule, now there was some confusion on PSYOP training. So we have an ELL coordinator now who's different from last year, and so she called me and had a question about the professional development for PSYOP. And so the PSYOP training was, that's the children instruction observation protocol, basically to help ELL kids and not dummy down the curriculum. Right? So she was under the impression that it's a 4-day training, district one. And she was under the impression that had all been scheduled already. And nobody knew, the buildings didn't know about it. They'd already scheduled their own PD. So, and that was board approved a while back.
Yeah.
So, so what we did was we called the company. We were able to get them to push it to next year at no additional cost and no charge. So I'm going to work with ELL as well. We're still things we can do throughout the year and whatnot. But just wanted you to know that, because in what we'll do, we'll set the PD schedule next year for those 4 days. And that they just didn't know about it. And you're going to have, little things that have been paid for and miscommunication. I don't know how that all happened, but so I wasn't here, but we addressed the issue, and that's why there was a PSYOP training this year, and we'll do it next year. So
Next year as in January or next year as in next
it would
school
be
year?
next school year. It's gonna be four solid days for everybody. And we don't have 4 days in our schedule to do the training. So when I talked to the ELL coordinator himself, and we made the decision to say this. She called the company and said, "Can we just push it to next year with no additional charge?" They said yes.
And I think last year we talked about it, so PSYOP is it'll benefit all teachers, right?
Mhm.
It's not just
It's the entire
necessarily
staff.
ELL.
It's the entire staff, but they just, next year's calendar, I want to, that'll get done in spring too. You want to talk about professional development, we talk about county fair, there's a lot of things that play in all that, athletic schedules, you want to get the best schedule academically and also in community. They're faster, they're joint, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that we need to look at, but we'll do that in spring. Because I mean, you know, in schools, this is why you've heard me say it 100 times, you know, when we leave school after Christmas and we come back in January. That's the year that we shift in our office, right? We go in January, we start to close out this current school year, but also simultaneously plan for the next school year.
Yeah.
That's it. So both those engines run down the track at the same time. So, you know, while the teachers and, you know, certified and classified staffs work finish out the year, we're upstairs planning for the next year. So those are, so handbooks and calendars and professional development, that all gets scheduled in the spring. So that'll all be done, you know, before the principals. And, you know, we've got, you know, I've got some work to do with some of the administrators as well as far as planning and things like that, paperwork. And some of them are fairly young as far as experience. So work on. That's sort of the goal, right? After you get back from Christmas break, you switch gears. We do. So, but that's when the PSYOP training would be. I mean, I didn't have another option, honestly.
No.
I mean, it may not be the best option, but it was the only one as far as, you know, you like it. I think it's probably a good program. Still vetted some, but it's for the entire staff. It's for this year. So that's why PSYOP got canceled. And then, for example, the professional development at the high school, you know, August 13th, we got science and reading, August 14th, science and reading, data map training, the 15th, science and reading, there's a treasurer's office training, 16th, you got a staff meeting, department meetings, gifted PD. So that's like that first week at the high school. And then, you know, the first week at the elementary, we've got, the Tuesday, you got, PD in the treasurer's office, they've got team meetings with their administration, Wednesday's wit and wisdom. You know, you got pathways on Wednesday, you've got an open house at night. Thursday, you've got math PD, all K5, and then illustrative math PD continued K5. Friday, you've got foundations and integrity training, dibbles. I mean, it's like, so there's just something every day. So that's what's going on at the elementary. And then the middle school, they've got there's a fiscal meeting. They're going to talk about the e-haul passes. It's new this year. Science of reading is Wednesday. Abbreviated training, full training is Wednesday. Data mapping is Wednesday. Thursday, you got science of reading, full training. Thursday, BLT. And Friday's the PBIS committee. So that is basically what they do. Monday, then they come in. We've got convocation day. Contracts. There's no work to be done. And I explained that to you. And yeah, so that's just the way, that's what the schedule is. So that, and there's some things throughout the year, but there's no block where I can do the side. But, yeah. So I mean, they're busy. I mean, that's what's going on, but you know, I pulled the contract and, you know, here it is. I can, you know, if you've obviously approved it, if you want to keep it, we can keep it. Don't make it better if you want, will. But that's where we're at.
I'd like to keep it because push it to next
Then
year.
I will schedule it for next year.
Perfect.
And then nobody has to worry about PD because it's already scheduled.
It's done.
4 days. There you go. No,
For next year, look at that.
yeah, I mean, because that makes it a lot easier
Yeah.
for you all too.
Yeah.
So we'll just consider that done. We'll do that. So easy.
So think of the-
There you go.
no complaint, I need PD for that.
Everybody will like that. So that's my PD update and just some junk.
Thank you for that. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
Good question. We're going to separate these two, right? So
No,
you're gonna do
A1.
A1.
A2, Alpha 1 and 2.
Okay, so
Look at
there's
you
my.
go.
Okay. Like the board to approve Jamie Campbell, 6th grade ELA, master's step 6, if replacing 6th grade teacher. Have a motion.
Can I get a motion to approve the hiring of Jamie Campbell?
I'll move.
I'll second. Any discussion? We should go with these.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
I'd like the board to approve Isaiah Trimble, elementary school fourth grade teacher, bachelor's step 2, replacing a fourth grade teacher.
Could I get a motion to approve Isaiah Trimble? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So I had some questions about this one. So it says he's a coach. So how is that gonna work if football starts and he's still in class?
We feel he'll finish the day. I mean, if he's coaching, teacher first, coach second,
Right.
he'll finish his teaching contract. I don't know what his schedule looks like. I don't know if he's got, the kids have a special at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, if his classroom has music or visit, I haven't seen their schedule, what is schedule. I know when I coached last night, they would give me playing period in the day. To go to school. But he's gonna be, I mean, we're hiring his fourth grade teacher. Could be class. Teacher first, coach second.
Any more discussion?
Do you have any question?
I was just gonna say, it would have been preferable to have had a little bit more details about what he actually did in his educational career.
And prior, this resume would never make it past minutes. It would go to file 13.
Understood, but I mean, I didn't personally review it. I mean, like I said, I rely on my principals to interview and hire and, you know, I mean. With what's been going on, I'm probably not going to interview every teacher that gets hired 35 people. This month, past month, so. You know, I rely on them, if it's a bad hire, we get rid of it. Hopefully it's not, but my point is,
I appreciate we're getting a male in the elementary school. I think that's a good thing.
oh, I think it is a good thing. It's a assistant principals, and those are all positives.
And I guess with resumes, I've always just seen them, that's what gets you in the door, it's your interview is what really makes you break shit.
You wouldn't get an interview with this.
We don't have that one, so.
Yeah, I know, like I said, there's been a lot of turnover here, staff wise, we're trying to create an environment where that's not the case. You know, we've got to rely on other people to make the right decision, and you know, if they don't, then we help making those decisions in the future, but you know, they did their checks. I mean, I can tell you exactly what was said.
Do you know if there was any other applicants interviewed at the same time?
I think we had, to be honest, I think we had a couple and they both withdrew. I think he might have been the most, so I can't speak, I just knew we had a couple. I mean, we had an 8 quit yesterday,
And there's 5 classes?
4th grade.
Six. Six. Any more discussion? We take roll, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
No.
For advancement on the salary schedule for certified, Alex Case. We have step 10, got us plus 150. Paul Quinzel, credit recovery, retire, rehire. Masters plus 15, and Adrian Young's paperwork came in verified, so he went from a BS step 10 to BS plus 150.
Can I get a motion then to approve Alex Case, Paul Quinzel, and Adrian Young?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I understand, sometimes they have to get checked out or they earn things over the summer. I'm just curious, I don't really have any issues. When we hired Mr. Quinzel, for that position, did he have to qualify for something else or did we not?
No, that was on me. I did that from home and I didn't double check when I got back to the office. It fell off my radar, so I take full responsibility. Usually I'll have Miss Hatter double check me and I forgot to do that. So that's on me. It was my mistake.
Oh, that's, yeah. Thank you. That one just,
Yeah.
just wondered.
No, that one's on me. I take full responsibility.
Thank you. Thank you. That was my whole question.
Anything else? Any more discussion? Do roll please.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Okay, extended days. I'd like the board to approve Shannon Blankenship, middle school guidance counselors. They're asking you to approve 4 days of extended work in 24-25, back in May of 31, June 3rd, June 6th, and June 7th. Content is, so Mr. Crispin approved those 5 days, she used 4. Questions on that? Try to get things, I will try to get things to you ahead of time, in regard to pay ahead of time, like I did with Jacob, but sometimes that's not the case. I mean, we've got extended school year, for example, that started in July 22nd that we're working on. So, yeah, which I'm doing now, but it's fit. I mean, this fix is good, but I mean, she's working now.
Yeah.
And the other one was Catherine, the classroom aide, 178 days. She's going to be going from the classroom aide to the media center.
So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for the certified and classified person?
I'll move. I'll second.
Any discussion?
I was just gonna ask, you got confirmation that those days were already worked and for Miss Blankenship?
Oh, yes.
That
Mhm.
you,
Said he used,
Yeah.
Said she used 4.
yeah,
or
you,
5.
She has to submit a timesheet. It has to
Yeah.
be signed off on by Mr. Fugate, but we can't pay her until the board approves it.
Yes.
So.
thank you. And then, can you go up?
Sure.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, does this mean we have to backfill now for, middle school classroom aide?
Pardon me?
Do we have to backfill now for Miss Tace moving to the, media center aide? Do we now have to backfill?
Yes,
for
yeah, we're filling actually quite a few positions still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought she was one of the study hall aides. so
She's
they
come
moved
from,
her.
well, I don't know exactly
I
the
don't even.
shuffle, right? Because there's been a lot of internal shuffle. Because, I mean, I don't, I'll bring it to you if there's a difference in pay or days, right? But if it's a straight, I mean, 'cause we got people that are go aides that go here and go over there. I had 2 quit, and I had one I had to rescind. So, we're short of few, so we'll see where they all flush out. Sweet.
Okay. So maybe more before, our next, or for.
For your work session, if it, I'm hoping to be fully staffed by work session. 13th, the 20th, we should have everything ready to go. The school starts the 19th, so I'm hoping that on the 20th, everything you're approving is people in-house working with no opening. It's a lot of good.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? We can roll please.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I want to talk, today I'd like 2 recommendations. I want to talk about the student handbooks and I want to talk about class fees. Start with the student handbooks. And like I said, they're separate. What I want to talk about first is I've got a lot of questions from you. I'll take as much time as you need. Some of it was some language, like Ohio Department, the Ohio Department of Education, Ohio Department of Educational Workforce, and ODU, it's like seeing those things. So we tried to clean all that up for you. As far as the spirit of the language and the policy, and then we went over this when I talked about policy and administrative guidelines. What's good sometimes for a first grader, you think about recess rules, they don't apply to the seniors. There's no recess. So the policy is a policy and the guidelines are the guidelines, which is sort of where I live in as an administrator. Understanding that, like I said, we'll get these done in April next year. They're still not done, and it's August. Is we want to make sure that we've got the important things that we want, and I can go through some of the language, if you want as well. And I would like to address all your questions if it's answered. But there's some things that we beefed up, like I said last meeting. We're going to talk about discipline. We're going to talk about vandalism. We're going to talk about bathroom usage. So we'll go through those. What we try to do, and I want to thank Shelley, who's my executive assistant. She and I have worked extremely hard on this. She's stayed late, several nights to format them, make them look good, try to clean all the grammatical errors, things like that. And this will not be an issue next year. But some of the things were just surprising to me. So we've addressed it now, and we'll continue to address it moving forward. But like I said, with that being said, we'll start with elementary first. I've got the board policy for communication devices, handbooks, dressing, grooming. I think, those are all things that fall into play and are age appropriate. There's a lot to it, but with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So here's the old elementary handbook. Yeah, there's the new one. And they all look the same.
Yeah, good.
So,
I'm gonna
elementary-
brand it, let's brand it.
Yeah, it's branded, so that was a start. So if you go through this, everybody that's on here in the front, you've got contact information, address, things like that. There were questions on the reporting of absences. So we talked about the primary number in one call, right? And one call is not accurate, right? It is apogee.
Yeah,
I didn't know that because just got here.
because you didn't know that.
Yeah, the question I had is why didn't everybody else know that? So
That is a good
in
question.
a way I went.
Yeah,
So you're right. So that's been changed. That's been updated. That is correct. It is apogee. And that's what we've been using for a couple of years back. So you're correct. So that's fixed, and I let them know, let everybody know involved that it's the system we're using. You talked about dress code, and like I said, I've got, in the past, it says, if a teacher, I believe in, some of you think any teacher could. I have talked to the elementary principals, and, if they are, like, if I look at the policy for dressing and grooming, here's the policy, here's the guide. It is basically each principal in consultation with building staff will develop a dress code. So it's basically age appropriateness with their staff, right? And so I talked to the building principal and said, listen, we can go through this more thoroughly as we go on this year, see what works, what doesn't, make adjustments as we go, fix it. But, what are you doing with dress code? And, if a teacher thinks there's an issue with dress code, they'll address it, send that kid to the office. If somebody else sees it, they can tell that teacher, it gets a little gray and uncomfortable. I think if anybody can tell a kid to go to the office because one person's viewpoint may be different than another. I don't know if that person is certified, it's classified, they're to volunteer in the building. I don't know. So that's why that with this being August as well, there were certain things I wanted to get done, certain things that, but if they're not dressed appropriately, they gotta go.
But my point is that if they're not dressed appropriately, then they're not dressed appropriate. So it shouldn't be, I mean, like, and that's something that we talk about, it shouldn't be up for this, you know, this teacher thinks it's okay, this teacher doesn't think it's okay, it should just be like pretty black and white. And my point was not that like anybody could
Yeah.
send that student to the office, but I feel that the secretary or, you know, someone else could also say, that's not okay for school. Any, you know, a staff member, not.
I don't disagree with you, but it's like, as a guy that's raised 3 girls and has dealt with dress code for over 30 years, everybody's view is different. And you know, some
But
of the
that's what
clothes.
we're trying to
Agree,
make
but
more.
still, what I see and what you see or what they see, I mean, we just don't want, you know, we don't want it to be distracting, we want it to look appropriate. I mean, that, you know, and I think, you know, it's just like with handbooks and dress code, I mean, 5 people in the room probably won't agree on everything, right? It's just, if we can go this year and see and come up with maybe a more uniform, but the elementary principals don't seem to see it's a big deal. They just said it's, you know, if anything, it's usually they're concerned about the welfare of the kid, right? Just so they have not so much dressed in appropriate. But I mean, it's not like nobody can't say.
I just wanna make sure, like, again, that we're putting these things in here and we want them to be upheld.
Agree.
That's the purpose. If
And
it's
we're-
not gonna be upheld, then we're not gonna put it in here.
Well, I said that before, right? I mean, it's my understanding, like I said, we have a cell phone policy, right? And there's some latitude to that cell phone policy, but we talked about cell phone this summer. I mean, everybody uses them every day. I guess it was like a struggle in the classroom. So, I mean, that's a clear cut expectation. There's no cell phones. That's gotta be, right? I mean, you're there to learn with the phone. Don't bring, I mean, that, like you said, I don't disagree with you, but I gotta have some time to work with these people. And let them understand that these are things that we need to do, not just. I mean, I agree with you, you have a cell phone policy, and I've heard, you know, the kids use their cell phones all the time, I was like. Well, you know, I mean, there's a time and place for it, I mean, districts across the state of Ohio they're starting to adopt it, you know, it's one thing we're gonna work on this year, because next year you need a policy. You know, different one that addresses the law, but you know, you could tailor it. We had,
Yeah.
speaking of cell phones.
In the office.
But, no, that's, I mean, and you're right, I mean, that's the dress code. I mean, we can talk about it for hours and days, but I totally agree with what you're saying. It needs to be upheld. It needs to be tasteful.
But it's all pretty, what was interesting to me though, as I went through the 3 different handbooks, is that they were kind of the same, but yet not. And to me, that should be a cut and paste, with the exception of the shoes, you know, that they talk about for the elementary. Because everything else was pretty similar, or the expectation was pretty similar. Except for when the junior high threw in the whole lighting thing, so.
So going forward, like, how do you normally do it? Would you have a committee, like 2 teachers from each building and the principal all sit down and meet? And then do they go through everything and then you guys break up and then you go back and write individual ones, or?
Well, I think what we do after school gets started, you know, the principal, you can monitor some of that discipline thing, but you be proactive about it, right? We're extremely reactive, right?
Right.
We talked about that. You know, you want to model the appropriate message, you want to, you know, model the appropriate things to these kids, and you want to let them know what the expectations are, and you hold them to standards. And you know, there's, you know, you put a couple people together for different committees and past, you know, be a handbook committee, right? What worked, what didn't, you know, what do you need to improve on? But I mean, you know, dress code and big snow days, right? It's a lot of parents don't agree with. You call it You call it home, you're like, what's wrong? You know, well, you know, I mean, it's,
Right.
you know, a lot of it comes from home too. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, and not that it's not important, but I mean, it didn't seem to be, the dress code didn't seem to be a huge issue with the elementary. And just there's some other things that, you know, the fire department, you know, put out and just get some other things started. But I mean, I wanted to get this done, this, we will never do this again. Uh,
No.
But I, you know, not that they say anything less important than the other. But it's all duly noted. I understand what you're saying, but you know, at the end of the day, you gotta rely on some professionals and make sure they make the decisions and know what's right and what's not. If we can't do that, then it's my job to see why we can't do it. But I gotta get it.
We go back a little
Yeah.
to the absence. I know I'm kind of like an absence junkie just because I did it so long and I'm still doing it.
Yeah,
But we have in here a half day absence, but we don't do half day absence.
they're gonna count hours. So.
We're gonna count hours. So I don't think you should have a half day absence in there.
So I talked to the elementary principal about that, so they talked to. So that parents talk about half days, the truants officers talk about half days, yeah, but when they talk to them, they explain it's hourly. Because. We do hours.
Right. But it's just not really,
It needs to be more clear that,
you know,
I don't disagree with you, but you know, I mean, that's something we definitely change, I don't want to change it for now.
yeah, no, we're not
But
right now.
We've talked about, you know, I've had that conversation, it's, you know, it's not days anymore, it's hours, and, but, you know, when the truancy officer calls, and then you got habitual truancy, crying, you know,
Yeah.
House Bill 410 fix all that, I can explain that in a minute, but it's like the, that's what they're used to, so that's why they put the schedule in there. I'm not saying it should be hourly or half days, but that's what they're used to saying. When they talk to them, they say, listen, you missed X amount of hours.
Yeah,
This is where we're at,
right.
you know, and it's like, they're like, oh, okay, you know, but that's totally new for people, you know, hours, and I mean, if we're going to do it, I think that, you know, that's one of those things that needs to be explained, and there's a process that says, you know, this is the way this works.
Yeah.
Because unless your kid's gone a lot or absent a lot, you wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
I mean,
True.
So, and it's not that they shouldn't know, I'm just saying they wouldn't. You know, and, you know, I can see some parents, they go, that was these hours, you know, they call them. It's not I don't disagree with the hours, I'm just saying it needs to be communicated,
what it means.
what it means.
Yeah, that's why I didn't even know we were still using a vacation form because,
So the vacation form, you know, again, I've only been here,
Yeah.
you know, through
30
a
seconds.
school year, yeah, but like I asked that too, because the vacation form, because you're not taking vacation, it's hours.
you're just taking your days.
And the vacation form comes into play when I want to take Johnny on vacation, we gotta take my kids on vacation. I'm gonna be gone 5 days, this is where I'm going, it's gonna be an educational experience, it's gonna have some homework. I mean, it's a form that validates, okay, they're going to
Florida,
Florida. You can talk about,
Disney.
you know, UV rays, or whatever. You know, it's like,
right?
that was what that was for as well, to kind of keep track of vacations and education and things like that. I mean, I have no problem, I mean,
Yeah, I
just say and
Doing
toss
it.
it out,
Yeah.
but I think that, you know, that's a good thing, when you have your PTA meetings and kind of your open house, I mean, start to discuss, you know, some of the things that have changed.
Yeah.
And get it on your website, your website, those things you're looking at next year.
It'd be good to throw out on our Facebook page discussion of the week, you know,
Well, Jake and I are meeting Friday, communications guy.
yeah,
We're gonna talk about how we deliver our message to the community. I'm not real concerned about the buildings themselves, like the buildings themselves, but when communications go out, and this is to your point, Rachel, that the Facebook posted now, I'll say it now so people can hear it. These handbooks are going to go into final forms.
right,
Okay, and once they're approved, they go into final forms, and it's going to make people go back in and redo some. Ask, you know, I don't know how many times I filled out my final forms for my own kids, but it's you know, but those are the messages that need to go out, right? And that's why I told Jacob, said, if this is a building thing, and we talk, maybe a conversation, he's gonna make me Friday, but how we're going to communicate our message to the community. I'm gonna use Jake, since he's pretty effective at what he does. I think, I want him to be able to get that message. Hey, we are sorry for the delay.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We just got our handbooks passed and this next year we'll have them done in the spring, but typically would, but what we'd like you to do is don't let make sure that all your final forms, are so accurate. You check when he's checked off, check off. We got, the new handbooks up there, the new fees are there. You please review any questions.
What's better than filling out a paper packet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that everything regenerates. I don't think you have to do every single thing, but there's some things you're gonna have to that'll go dark.
Yeah.
But that's the point with Jacob too, like him talking to me. He is, he's really good with the social media.
Yeah.
It's like,
So he'll put it on all the platforms.
he'll put it on the platform and things like that, but moving forward, what's that message going to be, right? The community, what's the one that we want to send? So what I don't want is like 30 different messages going out, right? And then everybody's like, you just get inundated with messages.
Yeah, well, on X it said this, well,
Yeah, it's,
yeah,
yeah, so I mean, like the separate buildings of one, the district stuff, I want less going out, but more meat, that makes sense, than it just stuff.
Yeah.
Or we're good on that, right, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't think it was a perfect world here, we'll get these, you talked about plagiarism in the elementary, they don't have any, and I'm not saying we can't put it in next year, I think it's a good idea. Because it'll eventually work its way down to the elementary, but there's really no issues there yet, but it's gonna be everywhere, so.
yeah.
Dangerous weapons, if I read through the policy, just so you all know, it states on there, including all school grounds, but the way that's worded, that includes everything. Okay, there's no weapons to be involved anywhere, extracurriculars or any part of the school or anything else, so. That was, any questions? Devices, cell phones, the state's law was not seen as heard, and language, so cell phones, so. Yeah, I'm not, people like it or not like it. Interesting, through me. So personal communication devices. So we've got policy that was passed, right? So we've got, when students are in school, they turn off the cell phones. I mean, this has been here since 08. We're supposed to use them. Revised administrative guidelines in 15. And it basically says, and they talk about iPads and similar devices and Kindles and the watches, right? So it's everything. But unless approved by a supervising teacher or administrator, IEP team, I mean, there's different rules, but there's different usage levels for different buildings, and it's approved by the principal. I would tell you that I understand about briefing in, but the one thing that is clear during the day in classes, there's no cell phone. But the high school says they can use it at lunch. And the middle school says I think it's lunch or before and after school in elementary. I think it's not a perfect world when these phones started. I think I was a principal when picture phones came out. I knew that was a horrible idea. But moving forward, that's something we can monitor as well. But if you take a high school kid that uses their phone all the time, not sure to no phone usage at all. I mean, I think it's been, it'd be a mutiny. You spend a lot of your time just doing it. Not that's an issue. We handle it, but if they can follow the policy during the day and not having the class they want to use at lunch, I mean, that's what the high school principals do. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. And the elementary says they just got to put it away because some don't have lockers and some do, so it's okay. But I mean the policy and the guidelines, it enables them to do that. I'm saying as superintendent, if I'm okay as long as they don't need to. Period.
Including study hall.
But yeah, exactly. We got lunch, I think, at the high school and before and after school. So, I mean, if they can do that, I think that would be leaps and bounds better than it was.
I think it's no time for middle school. I think it's the whole day.
Yeah.
So now-
At least one day, I know, handbooks for-
Well, it's from, you know, it's the first band to the last.
Yes, but they all run together, they look at it. So, but yeah,
But we gotta enforce it or it's.
Yes.
Correct. Or it's
Yes.
all.
that's with anything, right? I mean, and I don't think it's been, but from what I've heard, like I said, I'm saying I gotta make my decisions, right? I'm forming my opinions, but it doesn't look like it's been enforced. So it's going to be a wake up call for these kids. I mean, I got 4 kids, right, and the phones are like attached to them. But you gotta let them know ahead of time. You gotta let them know what the expectation is, and you gotta stay consistent.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think this policy may have been here prior to this year though,
It was,
and it wasn't enforced. So I guess
that's what I
My-
said, yeah.
my thing is that, you know, allowing parents the opportunity to know that it's going to be enforced. You know, it's not new. And shame on us for not enforcing it, but now it's going to be enforced. So just, again, kind of like the dress code, it's been there, it's not been enforced.
Well, I think too, part of it too is, I've talked to a lot of people in the community, people with kids, people without kids. You know, I think, you know, I talked to a bunch of them Saturday at the roast. I think a lot of it is just listening and communicating with people, right? They got questions. They may not always like the answer, and may agree with it, but got a reason for it, or, you know, and this is here's the direction we're going. I think that's what people, they just want to be heard and say, and maybe they got a great point, maybe it's changed, we fix it. It doesn't, but I think at the end of the day, we have to be proactive as administration, staff, to say to people, here's what we're doing, we just wanted you to know. You know, it's not vindictive, we're not trying to punish anybody, we're trying to learn. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, with all of it, you cut through all the smoke and mirrors and the things that go on a day-to-day basis, at the end of the day, it's about cheating. I mean, that's what it's about. You want a safe place, and want kids. You want the best one, right? So I think, you know, when you, like an open house and the social media that goes out, those are the things that hit. You know, just want you to know, we've got a dress code, we just want you to know, we've got a cell phone policy. Here's some things that, so you don't come here, you know, 3 weeks later, we start suspending people for something they didn't know. That's a problem. You know, that's like when you, principal comes to me and says, hey, you're not ready this teacher, it's oversee evaluation, blowing evaluations or never evaluated. Who did that? You know, I mean, that's the thing, right? So I just think we need, you know, and that's what my conversation Friday with Jacob is, help me get that message out, and, you know, give me 4 or 5 messages that are clear and consistent, concise, and, you know. So, I mean, that's with a lot of this stuff. I mean, a lot of this isn't something you all haven't seen before, but it needs to be enforced. You know, there's some things that are different, but I think it's all good stuff. I think it's going in the right direction. But at the end of the day, you know, there'll be more input from my administrative staff on the next handbook. So,
Had a few teachers reach out to me and said it would be really nice to include the teachers on the handbook committee. That they were in that they're in the trenches and they kind of like.
well, they would see, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're gonna see better than I am. And they're gonna see, hopefully, the principals will see more than they could, but they're not going to see the day to day.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes back to, you know, we have to be leaders in our buildings as administrators. That's a conversation I'm having with people, right? It's like, you're the building, I know you have guidance counselors, you have it, but I mean, that's great.
Yeah,
Do you run your building?
that stuff's there.
And so if I have a question about the building, I'm gonna come to you. I'm not gonna go see them.
Right.
But that's where I want them to be involved. And I agree with you. I think, you know, you can learn a lot from your staff, if you just listen. Because they're the ones doing the day-to-day operation, they get it. So I think you need to listen to them, but I think, yeah, I mean, there needs to be some input. And I don't know what's happened here in the past.
Right.
But, some of these things have been around a while, either not enforced, or some of these things people just didn't know what.
Some of these have been carried over for 20 years.
Yeah, well, these are all revamped. I'm telling you right now, Shelley did
But
a
I
nice
know-
job revamping all three of them, formatted them, but, and we've talked to. I've talked to a few teachers, I've talked to every principal about them, the ones that have been here. And, yeah, they should be, I mean, every year they should be updated.
Yeah, it's a living document.
It is a living document. Things are different now than they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, even last year.
Yeah.
And they'll be different next year than they will be. So, but it is a living document. A lot of the handbooks themselves, just like courses of study, they are a living, breathing document and they change.
Yep.
So, and you know, that's, and we'll talk about the course of study when we get to high school. Let's see, devices, that takes care of stuff on restroom policy. Restroom policy was updated. And that restroom policy is in every handbook. So. Is that?
Yeah.
So that's the restroom usage and the theft, damage, vandalism, school, private property. Those were both the theft, damage, vandalism was beefed up. And the restroom usage was made very clear. You know, students expect to use the district facilities consistent with their biological sex. So if you have a question for that, you gotta call.
Yeah.
So, and so that's one, those are a couple that were different than what they were. And it does say superintendent of schools, not students.
It says students.
And this one,
Yeah. I just looked at it. On page 14.
oh, too fast, my apologies.
Oh, now it says superintendent of schools. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah,
It's
That's
just,
what-
superintendent of schools is just not used anywhere else in the document, it just says superintendent. So I'm a big consistency.
well, this is the one I put in, says me and it's. But yeah, so that's, and the, you know, like I said, and understand discipline too. This is across the board. I told my administrators this and I will tell them again. You know, the elementary, the middle school and the high school, all right, you know, it says in there, you know, some of them have a progressive discipline ladder. But you don't have to use that one. Okay? I mean, some could go straight to suspension or expulsion. I mean, they can't expel, I can, but you know, they can recommend expulsion. You know, depending on the severity of the issue.
Yeah.
All right, so you know, you have latitude, you know, the administrators and myself have latitude in here to address many different issues. And we're not bound by the, you know, the discipline ladder, if you will. I need to understand, and you all need to know that. I mean, it's like, well, you know, it's a second offense. No, I mean, if it's bad enough, you gotta go.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, is what it is. So, but I think, but yeah, that also needs to be enforced and be consistent. So. Some of these was ODE, ODW. Yes, about transportation, use the word relocated. And the reason we relocate them back to their home address is because not all the time they lived at the same place they started. If they move over this summer, we relocate them back to their home address. I mean, it's more semantics, but I mean, I just love it.
Okay.
Any questions on the elementary?
That's great.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Vast improvement from,
Well, good. I'm glad you like it. I think it makes sense. It's clean, it's easier. May not be the greatest thing to understand, but it's easy to understand. And Shelley did a wonderful job, helping me with this. So, I mean, she did a lot of formatting and
Yeah.
some of the formatting stuff. She's better at it.
Yeah, it does, it's a lot better.
So. That's off there. Okay, elementary. Okay. Middle school. Yeah. Oh, I am.
Paper, you know, he's just.
I love paper.
Change to $5.
Yeah,
The guidance counselor names
I
need
think
to be
he-
fixed. Is it Shannon or Sharon? Cause it's spelled Shannon with one N.
it's, it's funny. It is, it's Shannon with one in,
Okay.
so I asked the same question.
Okay.
They only have one in their
I mean,
name.
is it Sharon or Shannon?
Shannon. I
Okay.
said this. It's, yeah, it was one in,
We just wanna make sure.
so. All right, this one's fairly similar to last year's format in the middle, but we kind of did a lot of that. So, middle school, I know there wasn't as many questions at middle school. I know 13 was cell phone.
It's a different, it says something different.
Yeah, so we can talk about that. So go to,
If you look at page 5, number 18,
Mhm.
it says.
I know,
Students must have all electronic devices, including cell phones, turned off and stored in their lockers during normal school hours, 7:30 to 2:45. The prohibition is for the entire school, including classrooms, locker rooms, hallways, lunchrooms, gymnasiums, library, and study halls. And then the policy says said something different in the page 13, so.
so again, the policy, I'm trying to find we went page 5, number 18, that one. And
Is it page 13? I'm just asking. So I
Yes,
get
it is page 13. But
Okay.
it looks like, so now it looks like it's,
but I go to, yeah, cell
looks like
phones
it's
and personal
been
electronic
changed, yeah.
devices, right?
it looks like it's consistent. But it does say that, yeah, it does say that, school employees may grant temporary permission for extenuating circumstances in which the student would be supervised during their use.
That call, yeah. And that goes back to the policy and the guidelines of where they could grant permission if they so chose to do so. So what, we can talk about policy and everything else, but I think at the end of the day, we want to keep the kids safe, want to do what's right. But there's a lot of interpretation. It's like handbooks are like CBA, they're like collective bargaining agreements, right? There's a lot of spirit of the language, if you like, call it, when you negotiate or bargain, right, with people, unions, and what is the meaning of that? And this is not to back people into a corner if there is an issue and somebody has to use this phone or they want to use their phone for something. That's why it's there. I think everybody's concern is, well, some people use their phone, some people won't. That's not, shouldn't be the issue. The issue should be, did they have permission? Did the principal, did you say use your phone? Did they watch it? Okay, fine. Okay, put it away. Let's move on. That's why that's in there the way it is. That's why I left it just because of the policy and the guidelines. I get what you're saying, but that gives them a little bit of flexibility. I'm not saying we can't change it next year or, as we see how it goes, but that's why it's written. We good on that? I mean, I hear you.
I mean, I just feel like the less, the less we leave for interpretation, the better, I mean, I get that it's their class or whatever, but I just believe that it allows for cell phone creep. It allows for, certain teachers to kind of just make their own rules.
And that's what we need to get away from. I mean, I think certain teachers probably could make their rules for anything.
Sure.
I mean, but we want to be consistent and fair. Just not using cell phones during class time this year would be a victory. And that's the first goal. I'd like to get to. Yep. But I'm gonna be in the buildings this year. I already told them that. I mean, there's some things that I need to do in the buildings, things I can help with. So, if I see a cell phone, I can say something too. So,
What a learning moment. Come here, let me tell you about a little policy.
Let me show you.
On page
Take your
13.
likeness.
Happen to carry it right here.
I don't want to do to yourself on what I did to my kids when he was little.
So, are we good? Page 13?
Good.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
Okay, put it.
Yeah. Get my son out window.
Sometimes those drastic
The
measures.
bad moment. I told him I'd do it and he did it and I said, wow, here goes. Okay, dress code again, I mean, it's dress code geared toward the middle school. Leggings, having one seam, two seam.
Can we just get rid of that one?
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I don't understand it real well, because I don't.
Again, this is a very, very old policy that came out when leggings.
Well,
first
yoga
started.
pants and leggings and all that
Yeah.
were a big thing. I remember even when I was, they like, you gotta ban these things. And I was like, not banning, we didn't end up not banning yoga pants, but I was like, you know, like, no, the kids are coming to school. But the rationale, like I said, we can take it out later and we can get rid of it. And I don't understand the whole women's clothing real well, right, about leggings and yoga pants, but yoga pants are yoga pants, right? My wife wears them, they have seams on
Yeah.
pants, right? But if there's no seams on it, I guess they're just leggings. It's not super appropriate, right? It's not, it's so.
They all
Yeah.
look the same.
Right. I just feel it's part of the discretionary clause. If the teacher sees someone in leggings and it doesn't look good, they can say, you need to go to the office and call home. But I don't, yeah,
But
but
if you
I,
go to Meyer, you know, most of the time it doesn't look good.
But-
So, I mean,
I mean,
again, I just, it's back to the consistency thing.
yeah,
It's not in anybody else's policy, and it's silly.
yeah, I
Who's
just,
over there going, is that a seam or not? You know, I mean,
I
we
just.
can take it out next year,
I
but
just
that
say ditch
was some of the,
whole thing.
you know, I get it, I mean, and like I said, what you buy at stores these days, I mean, I know when my daughters were in school, they couldn't even find shorts that come to their fingertips, right? It was like, they didn't make it, so. But,
everybody thinks they have long arms, but.
It just depends on how far.
It's like, it's like.
Look how long that is.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, it's.
no, I mean,
I'm
like,
curious, I wanna read the legging one.
And I mean, if a teacher thinks it's inappropriate, they have the latitude to say, you know,
regardless of
Yeah.
season,
regret
Absolutely.
whether or not it's in here, whether
Yeah.
it's a seam or not a seam or
I agree.
flared or whatever.
No, I agree.
If they don't like it, they'll do something about it.
Yes, yeah, I mean, and as they should, right? I mean, that's, yeah, that's. Yeah, and the other thing, and like, I just looked at the board, like, as you see, we put some board policy in, and the other thing we did with, some of these board policies didn't match up. Or they just didn't exist, the board policy number. And I'm like, I even went through like archive board policy, and
Never.
I don't know where it came
it
from.
was never a thing. So I cleaned all that out too, so that's all, was all updated,
Probably copied from other schools.
so.
One thing, one thing I do have is in our, it just seems to be a resounding subject thing. In our attendance policy, it talks about being tardy, not being at school, that sort of thing, with the extracurriculars. And it just says extracurriculars. Can we be more explicit to say, which includes athletics, intramurals, clubs, organizations, plays, musicals,
Right.
and recognition
Contests, right.
programs, so they understand that if you're not coming to school,
Doesn't just mean basketball.
you
Means
can't,
everything.
you can't come to any of that stuff, and I think it's spelled out like that.
Yeah, I mean, it works, you know, and et cetera, because.
Yeah, and I said, and I did an et cetera, because
Yeah,
there's, because there's other stuff.
Because
that-
other things come up, or they,
Yeah,
they have a dance in the middle of the year,
Right.
they plan, or things like that. I mean, yeah,
but I think going forward to bring that out. so
Yeah,
that
we can
covers
do
it.
that, and I think too, the other thing is, have them monitor this year, like, what are the different events that can. Chances are it'll change a lot, right, but what are those events, extracurriculars? I mean, right now, I just said you can't go to extracurricular, right, which is everything,
Right.
everything and anything.
I don't
But-
think
but
the
I-
parents understand that.
But I think what happens is, athletes are held to a higher standard at that level. Is that the athletes are intensely monitored about whether or not they've been at school. And whether or not they can attend, but the other extracurriculars can kind of slide in, cause I've seen
Well, I've
it,
seen that,
you know,
I agree, yeah,
and it's not equitable, I mean. It needs to be,
needs to be fair.
it needs to be
across the
fair, if
board.
you're not coming, then you're not going to math club, you know,
Mhm.
because you didn't go to
Go to
school.
school.
It's not like, well, I don't have a game, it's my math club, you know,
Yeah,
so.
it's still, it's an extra
It's still, you can't go,
right?
so. I just think spelling it out a little draws it to mind.
Yeah, and I think too, like to tell the administration too, is, you know, just be cognizant of the fact that you don't come to school, you can't do the events.
Right.
Whether you're an athlete or not,
Yeah.
whether it's, you know, dance or math club, chess club, football, whatever,
Whatever it is,
you can't come.
yeah.
So,
So that kind of leads me to the sentence in that paragraph as well, that says
which page?
I'm sorry, 13, sorry. The principal reserves the right to consider extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, well, I think you're probably worried about favoritism.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Uh,
I mean, like, what if his or her kid is, not here that day, but they want their kid to be in the play, or they want their kid to go to the football practice? I mean, like, I just feel like
yeah, and
it opens a door.
I get that, and I think why the reason I didn't change that, and I mean, it's something we can still talk about, but you know, I've had instances where. You know, mom got in a car accident, kid, on the way to school, got in a car accident, missed half a day or most, there's nothing wrong with the kid was fine, mom goes home from the hospital. We're gonna penalize that kid because mom got in a car accident. I mean, there are, and I consider that an extenuating circumstance. There's not a one size fits all for discipline, and I get what you're saying. The favoritism piece of, we shouldn't have to put policy in place to put people, for people not to play favorites. I'm not saying them, right? But as a professional, you gotta be consistent, and I think that's on them to say, to be professional and be consistent. I mean, I shouldn't have to put a policy in place for people to play favorites. Now, does it happen? I'm sure it does. I've seen it. I know it. Blind. Been around a lot. But to say completely black and white, it's this way or the highway, it's those instances when kids, it wasn't their fault, or they get it, somebody got something and they're fine. Probably the best thing they could do is go to that event. Now we're punishing them because they can't, it wasn't their fault, they weren't sick. I mean, that's the incident I've been exposed to, right? Things like that. I mean, there's people that, hey, you don't come to school, you don't do this. Okay. They don't get you're sick, you're whatever, but we do try to do what's right and do the best we can, and that's why that's there. But I think people should play people. And we gotta hold people accountable. Let me get them in. So we can get them in here.
These the right activity fees in here? Like it's,
Yes.
okay, I just wanted, because,
Oh, God, yeah.
okay, I just wanna make sure.
Yep. They are.
Which one are we looking
We're the-
Activity fees, page 14.
Well, we got a fee schedule, yeah, and it's $250. The reason 9, 12, and 7 are even the family, right? If you
Yeah.
got a kid in high school, right, but. Visitors, athletics. Bus transportation. You see different, Truancy. Any other, I mean, I think I hit, the pay schools account, there was a question about that, I mean, we can address that, they get abused, I mean, I think a lot of it's for, they can't borrow $2 to eat. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, sure, here's
here's my card.
yeah, I mean, that's what that's for, and then, like I said, the same thing on middle school handbook is, it's across the board, right? Theft, damage, vandalism, school and private property. You know, students are encouraged, you know, it says right there, violations may result in suspension or expulsion from school. It's anything of value, and then again, restroom usage to affect each district restroom facilities consistent with their filing sex and request. Alternative bathroom usage must be submitted to superintendent of schools for approval. Violations will result in suspension or expulsion. Those are sort of the differences. The rest is just tennis policies, bloodborne pathogens
Thank you for making it one word.
with an E.
Right. Okay.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, that's it. I spelled. All right, go on to the high school.
Yep. Oh, we're having so much, let's keep going.
It's a good time, isn't it? So.
You've been picking out that weird sentence under truancy that didn't seem to
Go with
go with anything.
What's that?
That weird sentence under truancy, thank you for removing that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so here's the old high school, and but last year's are doing,
Marvelous.
same format. You've got a mission statement, table of contents, this one's a little longer. Bell schedule, 2 hour delay, 2 hour release, and regular bell schedule. Yep.
I thought the college visit numbers were changed. I thought they got 3. But I don't know where I saw that.
I can't answer that sitting here, right?
Not the same thing.
Where did I see it? Is it your board college?
I think it's, yeah, the policy. I know you even saw that, huh?
I know. Didn't have time to look it up, but I think it might be 3.
Well, we'll check it.
Okay.
I would hope that they would have that right.
It's a recent change.
Still hope they have it right. Oh. You're talking about the days, right?
Yeah, the number of days.
Oh,
Or-
I'm like, what is? I'm looking here. What are you talking
Where
about?
are you?
I'm like, I can't keep up. What page are we on?
Page 6.
We digress.
Page 6.
Oh, I just got to page 5. Okay. I'm gonna move ahead.
Keep moving.
Oh, there it is. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I'll check with Barrett and the guy got to see.
Yeah,
Cause I don't know off the top of my head.
I can't remember where I saw it.
I know, I'm gonna Google it though.
Do you remember?
So, absence, attendance, again, you know, we talked about, medical excuses, college visits, all that. Yeah, gotta be back for 3 days. I'll check on that. I mean, I think this is, you know, we talked about truancy, you know, truancy was,
Okay, so I was wrong, because under truancy, page 8, that little weird sentence did not get taken out, it's because it's the end, I missed it. It says currently truant students
Eliminated.
by this new law.
Eliminated.
And what does it mean?
You're done here.
It's
So my people call it.
For
whack.
seniors, for juniors and seniors will be permitted 3 college visitation days per year prior to May 1st.
When was that? Where are you finding that?
Yeah,
Google.
I
Oh,
Googled
girl.
it too, and it didn't come up, so.
Okay, good, I thought so. Green tree. Yeah, I kinda like that sentence, chronically true students will be eliminated.
You'll be eliminated, you're gone.
I mean, that, like I said, the law changed, right? So
Right.
chronic truancy was removed.
Yeah,
And then the definition of habitual truant changed. And then it changed from days to hours because.
I mean, like, I don't think that even needs to be in there.
I think that was a leftover note
that was a prompt for the board, so we would know what was changing, that's what I kind of remember that. I don't know if it was
It just said,
blue or green or any other color originally, but.
well, I don't know why they did it. I mean, yeah, I mean, I get what you said. What it, I mean, they probably highlighted the law, right? House Bill 410 came out, they said, we're going to change the law, and make it chronically truant is eliminated by the new law. And that was chronic, chronic truancy was eliminated when House Bill 410 came, right? And the goal was to keep kids in school. The whole goal behind 410 was to keep kids in school, because if you were, if you miss 10 days, but we change it to hours, you miss more than 10 days. So that is why that, I mean, we take it, I don't care.
I mean, it just has no purpose.
It's just kind of,
It looks
it's
weird.
just dangling there.
We'll
It's
get
one
rid
of
of it
those-
next year.
Yep, I think
But
so.
I think what they said, I mean, yeah, if anybody was curious about the law, they just said, why is that? That's why. They got rid of it.
Right, but it says up in truancy, Ohio laws define by habitual and chronic truancy based on household.
So you could move it up to the end of the HB 410. I think it might, it just is kind of dangling there. It's one of those like,
It's a hanging chat.
it is, it's kind of like where you put your comma. Are you eating grandma or you're eating with grandma? I don't.
Good old days.
You know?
This is why I did math. This is why I do math.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the graduation requirements. So let's talk a little bit about that. So,
Page.
14.
graduation.
Cause I thought we had seals or something like that.
Oh, we do.
You have seals, you have state tests, and you have all kinds of good stuff to graduate on. So you need, the credits are in here, right? You need credit requirements. And if you look at this course of study that was approved, I think in February. So this is the high school's course of study, 24-25, approved in February.
Yep.
And course descriptions and themes, and then seals are in here. So here's the seals, right? You need 2 of these, whether it's college ready seal, military citizenship, community service seal. You need to get 2 of these to graduate. You need to have at least 22 credits, and you have a state test. Those are your graduation requirements. So you were right, there are seals, but this was in the course of study that was approved in February. Which is for graduation, things as such.
Does it say that in the handbook?
So it talks about the,
I don't think it says anything about seals in the handbook.
but in this it does, and they talk about it when they come to school. I mean, they put every single thing in the handbook for graduation.
Right.
But this is the course of study with the seals, and which I'm going to probably bring back to you anyway if you reapprove the new one,
Okay.
because
Is it-
this one's not.
So is that available online? Could we put that in final forms for high school students? Just so the family,
Sure.
the families are aware, because you've had high school students before.
Or,
I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, just not to helicopter, but just to make it informed punishment. when
I
they
didn't
don't
check,
do
I didn't check
it.
on it, but I mean, they didn't want to live any more longer with me than they had to. so.
Yeah. It would be nice to have it so, especially for 9th and 10th grade parents who are still just getting the hang of the
Yeah,
whole process and can keep track of what's happening. 'Cause-
so let me get a new one to you.
Yes.
For your approval. Because what the issue came about with these, right? Okay,
Mhm.
so I'm looking at class fees. Tina and we're looking at that, so. There are fees in this course study. There's no fees for. So that when I bring it back to you, just so you know, I mean, I'm not. We have to. I want to present this to you, so if I, especially if I put on final forms, it needs to be accurate,
Right.
and I just want to make sure that, what we're giving out to everybody is accurate. So anyway, I'm gonna redo, I've redone this, prepare to redo it. And he's taken out like the things that need to be taken
Good.
out. the things
Okay,
that are
good.
So, he's got good eyes on it now, he did a nice job, I saw the review, and it's all, no fees are, so the fees are gonna be attached to a fee schedule. Okay?
Mhm.
And like, if it says fee required, like, if it's an AP course, we don't charge the fee. The university, the
Right,
testing,
testing,
does.
right, the AP, the,
Yeah, so that's the AP test fee, right?
Right.
But the point being, this course of study, if there's fees required, it'll say, but then you revert to the fee schedule. The fee schedule could change, or there's different classes, and so we really did a nice job of separating what the fees actually mean at the high school level.
right,
And you'll see that when we get to the fee schedule.
yeah, that's important.
So, but if you want to, it's a good idea to put, I don't know, I have to check with Jennifer if it's on. Jennifer.
Yeah. They can do, Jennifer and Shelley can help you with final forms, yeah.
I'm sure you, I just don't know if it's. I can't
Yeah,
have a question.
you can't, you don't.
I don't know if it's on there, we have to ask Jennifer, yeah.
Sure. Check it.
Yeah.
And. See what else?
So the question about the honor roll and principals list,
Mhm.
so. I guess what happened to honor roll being A's and B's and then. Principals list being all A's, I mean, that's how it is in the junior high. So I would think that it would be. Similar or higher standards in high school. Instead, it seems to be a lower standard. And.
I can't answer that sitting here today.
I got a problem with that. I mean, like. You shouldn't be getting C's and getting on the honor roll.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we can look at. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, if it's, you know, I hate the everybody gets a trophy mentality. But I mean. You know, with that being said, I asked about the history of valedictorian and salutatorian. I asked about that, because I was trying to understand
You
that.
didn't ask me. I got the history for
I'm
you.
sure it wasn't on purpose.
I'm sure you want my version.
Oh, yeah, sure I do. But, you know, a lot of schools have done this, I've watched it, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's what they've done, I guess. Weighted courses aren't counted in valedictorian and salutatorian. So that is, you can have more than one.
Yeah, we could have.
You can have
Well-
30.
We have 5 or 6.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
I'm not even.
Because there's someone who is top of the class. And then there is the next one down. So,
We're preaching to the choir on that one.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I mean, where my kids graduated, there was hundreds of them. You know, it's like, but when I was superintendent, we only had one. I mean, it was a fight.
I mean, and it'd be different if they had exactly
Oh, yeah, it's
the
a high,
same
high, yeah.
GPA,
Yeah, but nobody knows.
you know, exactly. You take that out to the next
'Cause you keep going
decimal,
out.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what we've done.
So
But
I'm with you on that. I would like to see a different thought on that.
and I talked to Barrett about it. I guess it's when he came, Jenny Potter was here. I guess she had some form of, that started with it, and then that got changed, and it got changed again.
She
This
has
is,
people threatening to sue her.
this is what, well,
Or valedictorian. Oh my gosh.
but yeah. it's
But,
true.
but I mean, it doesn't affect the top 10%, which plays into scholarship and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a,
It's more of a cord.
or procedure, you know, hey, I won. I mean,
It's a gold, it's
Yeah.
a gold
yes,
rope over your
there's mixed
shoulder.
emotions. I get mixed feelings. I mean, I get mixed feelings from people about it, because, you know, like more, you know, there's more people, but, you know, hey, it doesn't mean as much. I don't know. It's
I
so,
don't know.
I never had to worry about it personally,
It's-
because, you know, me and one of the kids, but, you know, they weren't getting it.
That's way down the list.
Yeah, it didn't matter how much we dummied it down for them. So,
Well, but it's, I mean, it's like everything we talked about, phone policy and dress code, everybody has a different,
sure, like I said.
different opinion, so we just have to decide.
I would like to at some point for next year, whatever, circle back to that. And including the honor roll and principals list and, what that actually entails and what it means.
There's a lot of things we can look at, like I said, there's certain things I wanted to get in this handbook for this year, and there's certain things that I wanted to get done and get out, and get them loaded into final form. But, there's, that. Put it, put it big and they can talk about it,
Yeah, a lot of work committee.
you'll see what they think.
Yeah.
Do some research. So. Our role, yep, so that is, I think you're basically similar questions. We talked about stuff and we talked about dress code.
Are we gonna be able to give the students only one study hall? Give enough courses this year. Makes sense.
Yeah, I believe so, yes. I think yes, yes.
I think the block scheduling helps.
Block will help. It always helps.
Yeah,
And we hired another science to make that even.
okay, so we should,
You should be able to.
yeah, that was rough last year. I mean, that was just,
You can't.
there was no place to put them.
Yeah, and if people don't understand, it's hard, some people don't get the scheduling, right? It's not the easiest thing in the world, right?
I've been doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's in block, I like block scheduling from an academic standpoint. I think it's good, but you need to have room and you need teachers,
Yeah.
so, but I think we're good on that,
Okay, good.
we're good on that, and then, like I said, it's still the restroom usage and, vandalism policy saying that when it's. And that concludes my handbook tour.
That's a wrap.
Big question?
Yeah, the life.
Yes, you say yes, right?
Yeah, well, so. So final forms came after my kids were here, so apologies, I don't quite understand. Is there a place on final forms where parents can opt out of? Special presentations, whatever, things in the auditorium, if they bring in a speaker, is like individual things that they can opt out of?
I don't know. I'm like you, my kids are
Yeah,
past final.
we did
form.
paper forms.
And when they were in final form. Okay, that's her.
I don't know, because I think that there are some.
Let me,
programs
all
that-
kidding aside, let me talk to Jennifer, because if I'm gonna start downloading other things in the final form, her and I need to have a conversation about what's there, what's not there. I need to get out to the community and tell them, here's what's going to happen to your final forms you've already filled out.
Right.
And we downloaded a new handbook, new class fees. So let me get with Jennifer. I mean, right now, Jennifer is, she's working on the scheduling and we're working on getting the kids loaded in the system. And kindergartners coming in, they all need to be in that system before school starts.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, we'll get things loaded. I'll find out. I just don't know the answer to how you guys, how we finally, that will be the final form. Some districts used to be able to, you could tailor it. And I just don't know what we've done.
Right.
Haven't been here long, but
I
I'll
mean,
find
I just think that if there's a thing on suicide and it's just, maybe a parent had committed suicide and it's just not a good thing for that student to go to, the parent should be able to opt out.
They did just have something like that, but it went out on Facebook and maybe on the website, and they said, okay, attention, according to the law, there's some law change, and the kids had to have this briefing according to the ORC. But if you don't want your kid to go, then you have to let us know. If not, we're just going to assume that they're coming. So they put it back on the parent that you would have to submit it saying that, no, we want to opt out of it, not that we want.
Well, that comes from what you're talking about with Jacob, those sensitive type things need to
Right.
be out there if you're.
Yeah, you do have something
But
coming
not
out.
everybody has Facebook
Yeah.
or X or Insta or whatever it is,
But they
but
got
everybody
apps
has
to-
to do final forms. So I guess that's where I'm thinking, like, that really should be the place where it lives, because every parent has to go there. Hi, Mindy.
Hi, I think you were talking about the elementary where we had a law required that a certain program had to be done with our elementary students in May. And yes, we use everything. We got Class Dojo, we send those forms on, we sent paper copy, we put it on social media, we put it everywhere. So if a parent did not receive it somehow, then they're not being.
They have to do due diligence.
They gotta do their due diligence, because something like that, we got, because we don't own our license.
Right,
So we do that, there's multiple ways, it's not just Facebook.
right.
We do the paper, we do the dojo, and dojo is a direct communication with parent from
Right.
teacher, school to parent.
Does everybody do dojo now?
I think
We
what,
do at the elementary.
I think what
Okay,
Jackie was talking about was a middle school thing.
Yeah.
Right,
Maybe
officer
that's
at
It is
different
something.
thing, and when the elementary school, it might have been the same thing, but it was a different process.
yeah.
in middle school.
Was it on final form?
Is Apogee like one call? So could elementary principals send out a message on Apogee, like one call used to?
That would be a question for you.
Because every child who goes to the school has to be loaded in Apogee. So just saying, I think that'll reach somebody who doesn't have any platform, as if you just threw it out on Apogee.
And I think I just saw it on announcements, but like she said, must have been posted other places, but I just saw it on the announcement.
Yeah, let me have my meeting with Jacob Friday. I mean, because.
Add that to the Jacob,
Well, that's part of it, right?
Yeah,
I gotta
that's-
talk to Jennifer, right now, she's more, I don't want her to focus on getting kids enrolled.
right, oh,
But-
totally.
And then, I talked to Jacob Friday, because we got to do teacher orientation most of the day tomorrow. And then I gotta get the board agenda ready again for Tuesday. So, let me talk to Jacob Friday, because, you were asking things about, Apogee and final forms, and, some people don't even know we use Apogee till today, so, or yesterday, so that we gotta enlighten everybody.
I'll admit it, I didn't know, I'm like, we're not using one call, somebody calls me. I don't know what it's called, but I get a call.
Keep calling me, I don't
It's not me, Tina.
We got several forms of communication, but I just gotta figure out which one would be the most effective and would be
And
best.
that's, yeah,
So, but we'll get to it.
yep,
Because I just want parents to have the option to know what's happening and to choose whether or not they want their student.
I know you could do that with one call, so I assume you could still do it with that.
I'm sure you
That they would go to a worse
no,
platform
No,
no, I can't.
when they work.
Well, stranger things have happened.
I said, but
alright, so we're on.
We're-
Class Bs,
Class B,
class fees,
let's start with elementary first.
okay,
Alright.
started at the top, but
I'm moving on first. I know it's backwards, so
elementary first.
I did, so.
That's why you don't.
This is why I'm looking over here.
What does the technology fees cover?
Repairs to Chromebooks and things of that nature, just a sort of maintenance fee, upgrades to the software, things like that.
Not if they lose something.
We get charged for it.
If they break something that costs more than, it's regular maintenance and upkeep of the Chromebooks, so.
And there was a question too, because I was curious, as a senior in high school here, you get to buy your Chromebook when you leave, and they don't.
The scheme,
But we just talked about that and voted on that.
when they did the Chromebook purchase.
And you said that they would, or could?
No,
No, we said.
we said no.
well, we said they could buy it, we
could buy it.
because we were gonna give it to them,
Right.
but we weren't gonna give it to them.
Okay, because because I asked the question in high school, because I was curious. And they said, no, they refurbish them back. I'm just, trying to figure out a few things.
Yeah, they were charging every year a certain amount, so that would, in essence, pay for the Chromebook when they left here, and then they would just issue it.
See, I didn't make that up. That was what the board approved.
But I want to make sure they're doing it, right? I mean, it's like, but I was just curious, because I mean,
But we said,
But we said no.
we said
Right,
no.
because the refurbish, what do you call it, tech refresh, there was still life left on the Chromebook, so in essence, we were giving away Chromebooks that still had
4 years of life or whatever on.
So we said, don't do that.
Okay.
So we just said,
Oh,
get rid of
okay.
the fee,
so,
issue the Chromebook in their freshman year.
and they
then
should go
turn it
back
in
to, they should go back in the cycle.
To IT,
Leave,
right, yeah.
That's right.
And,
Okay.
but if a family
Wants
wants to purchase it, it would be for a reduced, I mean.
It'd be whatever the demo or whatever you call it, it's like the,
I mean, my kid bought his for $100.
Yeah.
I think that's what we
it is,
Right.
like $100.
I think that's what we.
Because some
said.
kids, this is the only computer that maybe they do have,
Oh, I get it.
you know, so if they want to keep it, that's fine,
Except
you
paper.
know, but it's
Okay.
right,
a.
but we
Goes
tried.
back to
Give it-
consistency, that's what I asked.
Correct.
I asked several questions
And that-
last week.
That just came up
That was
when
basic.
Jason came and did his presentation,
March.
April.
When he did
Yeah,
it.
because Jason did a presentation for you, I wasn't here, but
April.
I heard about that presentation too, that's what, sorry, I asked, sorry.
March or April? April.
I think it was April, I think it was
I think it was
after,
April.
I think I came in March, I think it was after I came on the board.
Yeah, so that's,
That's how that.
Okay, yeah, okay, makes sense,
Cause it used to
I
be.
knew he did a
the-
presentation, I
yeah.
heard about it.
Yeah.
Started asking people.
Chromebooks lifespan used to be like 3 to 5 years, right? And then you couldn't take tests on them anymore, you couldn't, it wasn't a. Right, you couldn't use it for testing and things of that nature, but now it's 5 to 8, so,
they're only half used.
yeah.
Right. It's a-
Fees, ready?
Mhm.
Okay, so, elementary fees, middle school fees, high school fees, so, this is what I can tell you, so. Tina and I made a decision to raise the paper to $5 a uniform, because I don't, paper's cheaper, more building up the other. But, what we will do is, as we go through this year, because, Tina and I will keep track of. I want a really good assessment of fees at the end of the year. No, I don't feel that we're there. Okay, didn't really want to raise fees, but at the same time. I want to make sure we're collecting what we should collect and not collecting more than we need, and we're not collecting less than we need. And when we do collect it, I want to make sure it's going to the right accounts and those types of things.
Yes,
Seems
absolutely.
to be I'm not, I just see sometimes there's tracking issue. And I've been here long enough now moving forward, can you keep track? So we'll keep track of the codes and the accounts and, you know, if there's changes in courses, obviously, there's different fees associated with that. But we did the best we could with how it was a pretty fair assessment, so we think, but for the elementary, the only change is pay.
Now, I think in first grade, it goes down by $2.
So it's like, I don't, I guess.
Just move to the bottom where it's blank, go over to the right.
Thank you. Okay, so we,
Man,
yeah, Natalie.
She's a backup when.
Natalie's the bad, she can be, yeah. In first grade, it actually in first grade, it went down by $2, and then I think in fifth grade, it went up by $2. So that was really the only change at the
Real
elementary.
change.
So,
Go ahead. I've got a question about the class fee. So does that mean like the parents aren't required to go and get crayons and colored pencils? No. What is the class fee? Fourth grade has a class fee. It says supplies, third grade has a class fee.
yeah, it just starts third, fourth,
And
fifth grade.
fifth.
Yeah, those were extra supplies needed in the curriculum, I assume. So I am, correct me if I'm wrong, so like math class may need a specific item in the fifth grade, right? And if it's needed for all the kids, most of the time we'll just purchase them out of class fees, so
Like a
that
calculator.
everybody gets the same thing, right? So you don't have parents bringing it in and
So
getting it
those
different.
things that need to be replaced, that,
Yeah.
you know,
Consumables?
consumables, because it's not always workbooks, sometimes there's other consumables we use, like when we do science labs and all that has to be repurchased.
Yeah,
because
that's cheaper
speakers
to
and
co-op.
monitors and all that didn't come up. That's it, no mention.
Yeah.
Middle school, took a few things out. There was a couple things left over they didn't have a fee for, so we just got rid of it. You know,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's,
then papers $5.
And that went from $3 to $5.
so is there an additional fee that they'll pay for the high school algebra or not? Cause it shows that it doesn't include it.
I just got the one not included. Where is it in the? High school?
The math class is $10. And if it's not included, then they probably just pay a separate price for that is. So that's what, right?
Okay.
So there's no fee for it in the high school though either.
Maybe there is no fee
Maybe there's no.
for the high school course.
Okay,
There's no fee for English 9.
Right.
yeah, I assume that.
I just didn't know if the algebra was in middle school. Not always. But yeah, that's it for middle school.
Oh, it's-
And high school, try to make us break this up, make more sense. So we looked at last year's and we looked at this year. Okay, so
Top one, Tina, top one, there you go.
It's late, I need to go to bed. My apologies.
gotta be back here early tomorrow.
I know, you're good.
So, you know, the agenda, the handbook, the copy print, again, paper went to $5. If you, in years past, so there was, cause I was trying to understand chorale and mixed ensemble, and what, so the choir, the old choir was mixed ensemble and chorale. So that I had Barrett separate, so you can see what was actually due, right? So, and then marching band, concert band, and color guard are all the same. Because there's a fee, but it wasn't always listed. So that's the same.
And it's a one-time fee, or do you have to, if you do marching band and concert band, you have to pay twice,
No.
one-time fee?
Cover the contest.
I was told the one-time fee. You're
I don't understand why choir and chorale, which we never used to have, we used to have choir. I don't understand why there's two fees, like if you're both, then you would have to pay that twice.
Do they go, maybe they go to two different,
different classes, you know. Now they're bigger.
but it could be that they go to different events.
They're different classes. So
Okay.
I asked them choir, because some people in choir are like, what is choir? It's some ensemble and chorale. They're different classes. Fee for each of them. So
Might be for the music.
Sounds good.
cheap music, yeah.
State music and they would be different perhaps. So
I didn't ask
Yeah.
like detailed questions of each individual class. I just,
No, I was
Yeah,
just curious, I mean, again, new to me, you know.
and then the only other thing was down below, AP drawings new. So there's a fee, 7.20, that's basic consumable.
Yeah.
And formerly called computer programming. It's a new class called fundamentals of IT. That's a new fee, $5. Because before it was 0, under the old name of computer programming. It's a new class now called fundamentals of IT, now it's $5. And that is the fee schedule.
Well, it's better all broken down for sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for the business recommendation?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So I did have, real quick on the high school fees, there's no fee then for the financial literacy class? You know,
Not that I'm aware of, no.
It wasn't mentioned. Anything else?
I just want to thank everybody too, thank the board, thank the community. I know it's been a process getting this done. So I appreciate everybody's patience. I want to thank the staff, Shelley, and, you know, I'm bothered a lot of principals and different hours of the day and evening, going, hey, this is me. So I appreciate that as well. So that's all.
And thank you for all the hard work on all of this.
Getting us all together in a very short time.
We're gonna be fine. It'll be good. It'll be a good year.
You're a great juggler.
You should be a clown. Unicycle.
You take roll, please.
Sure. Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling?
Yes.
Yes, but not least.
Motion to adjourn.
No.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No.
You take roll, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yeah.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
We are adjourning at 7:15 PM.
Nice job. Under 2 hours.
Oh,
Wait,
are we off?
Hold on, I'm working on it.
So it's good.